Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here at the New York State Firearms Association. If there's one thing that disgusts me more than an anti-gun, commie, liberal Democrat trying to attack our gun rights, it's an anti-gun, RINO, backstabbing traitor who tells us at election time they're 100% pro-gun, and then once they're put into office, once they're safely in power, they use that power to stab gun owners in the back. And we're unfortunately very used to that here in New York State. It was Republicans back in 2013 that helped Andrew Cuomo pass the SAFE Act. It's Republicans in 2018 that helped Cuomo pass red flag laws and deadly safe storage laws. Heavy sarcasm intended. Republicans have often betrayed gun owners here in New York State. We're counting on their votes the most. And guys, it's happening again. Unfortunately, we're not talking just about New York any longer, or our assembly or our state senate here in Albany. Instead, we're talking about Congressman Mike Lawler, who is now pushing a bill for the Biden White House that would not just hurt gun owners here in our state, but nationwide. We're talking about H.R. 7040. Guys, if you're pressed for time, I get it. Take a moment and call Mike Lawler. His number is on the screen right there above me. Give him a call and demand that he apologize for sponsoring H.R. 7040 for licking the ATF's boots and carrying water for the Joe Biden White House. He tries to attack gun owners like you and me. If you're pressed for time, at least make the call. If you have some more time, I'm going to give you guys the story. So back in the 80s, I think it was 1986. Let me check on that 1 second. Back in 1988, the Congress passed the Undetectable Firearms Act of 1988. And what that did was it required that handguns had enough metal parts in them as to be picked up by a scanner at a airport or at a jail or at a courthouse if they had 3.7 ounces of stainless steel or more. A very 1980s conversation. Of course, these days, anything from your local high school to the Smithsonian to airports to any place can pick up firearms using far different technology. So the technology has rendered the idea of this law totally out of date. It's moot. However, not to miss out on a chance to screw over gun owners, the ATF has recently redefined what the act actually stands for. Because, of course, that's the power they've been given, right? They can use a pen to simply rewrite things that are in the code, especially if it's an NFA-controlled item, and they can redefine things at their leisure. And they've been doing that for a long time. Now, thankfully, this law has had a sunset clause for a long time. Last year in Congress, they tried to make this a permanent law to lock in the ATF changes you're about to hear about. Thank God that vote failed. Not to let that stop them, the ATF has now convinced our Congressman, Mike Lawler, to file H.R. 7040, which would give a 10-year extension to this tyrannical piece of trash. Here is the screenshot of the intro of the bill. You can see it right there. H.R. 7040. You can see his name right there. He is the lead sponsor. Let me lose that. And I'm going to put the pertinent section up on the screen so you guys can see for yourself exactly what we're talking about. This is a letter that the New York State Firearms Association signed on to that was written by Congressman Andy Ogles and Congressman Tom Massey from Kentucky, calling on Speaker Johnson to not move H.R. 7040. And as you can see right here, what it says is a recent redefinition by the ATF raises the stakes because the ATF rule used to only apply to guns that had to have 3.7 ounces. But then it says right here, implementation of this new definition could result in the largest gun ban in history. Anyone whose gun has even one small plastic component could now be charged with owning an undetectable firearm, all because that gun part fails to meet old security standards from 1988. So what they've done now with this is they're literally redefining a dozen different parts of a handgun to say that that part now will be regulated as though it were a handgun. I know it might be a little bit confusing, but short version is instead of just simply having a regulatory authority over the lower receiver or the slide, for example, the ATF now wants to regulate all the individual parts inside of our handguns. And so if you have an unregistered plastic part in your handgun, you could then be attacked by the ATF for a violation of the Undetectable Firearms Act. That is absolutely insulting. It would make criminals out of countless New Yorkers and, more importantly now, countless Americans. This is a national bill, after all, not a bill here in Albany. And it's all happening because our very own Mike Lawler, pro-gun Republican, is licking the ATF's boots and carrying water for the Joe Biden White House. Guys, he needs to hear from you right away. Lawler is up for re-election, as every member of Congress is, later on this year. And he has to be reminded that gun owners here in New York, we are not going to continue with the way things were way back in the day. We will hold you accountable if you betray us once you're safely in D.C. Mike Lawler should do a couple things. Number one, withdraw H.R. 7040. Number two, he should then do on letterhead an apology to every gun owner in his district and, by extension, the country for daring to attack our gun rights and carrying this bill. And number three, he should go into Thomas Massie and Andy Ogle's office and thank them for having the courage to confront him and remind him of what the Second Amendment actually means. Guys, do me a huge favor on this. Share this video far and wide. There's no pre-written email. There's no petition. There's no action item with this video. We want to make sure that everyone in New York sees this video. So number one, Lawler gets a lot of phone calls at his office. The number, again, is above your screen. And number two, so every other Republican here in New York remembers that they will be held accountable if they dare attack our gun rights. We sent that message loudly when Chris Jacobs dared to support an assault weapons ban in Congress. We have to send it again now, this time to Mike Lawler. So share our video, make a phone call. If you want to chip in $10, that's great. Go to joinnysfa.com. And guys, we'll keep you informed. Take care and stay free.